Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, as many of you know, I have a couple of videos about this Bachelorette show, and I just want to continue the discussion with this video right here. And for those people who are wondering, like who haven't been checking out my channel lately, who are wondering why is this black man talking about some woman show or Bachelorette show? Well, let me tell you why. Obviously there are racial issues at play here. This is a black woman who is dating some white guys, and there's only one black guy left. It's down to three people right now. So I'm very interested in seeing how this thing unfolds, like who she's going to ultimately choose. If she's going to choose this black guy, or if she's going to go with one of these white guys. So, that's the reason why I've been following it. So I just want to share some thoughts about this whole issue. The first thing that I'll say is this, just about these dating shows in general. I don't think that there's any way that you can really fall in love with somebody in 9 weeks under fake, artificial circumstances like you have on this show, Bachelorette. I don't think that that's possible. And, I think that her parents, when I say her, I'm referring to Rachel, Lindsay. I think her mother made a great point. When she asked the question about these guys falling in love with Rachel after only knowing her for 9 weeks, I think it's preposterous to suggest that someone is going to know if they want to live the rest of their life with a particular woman based on some limited interactions that they had in a 9-week period. I think that it's ridiculous, man. I just think that it makes no sense, and in the real world, that's just unheard of. Especially given the high divorce rate. So the show is fake and phony. I wouldn't be surprised if some of this stuff is scripted, because it makes no sense for somebody to fall in love in such a short period of time. So that's one thing. And one thing that I thought was curious was the fact that her father wasn't there. Her father wasn't there when these guys visited her home and all that kind of stuff. Why wasn't he there? That's a question that I wonder. What was the real reason why he wasn't there? That's what I wonder, man. I think deep down my initial reaction is that he's probably like, this is a bunch of BS. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to entertain it. I refuse to be on camera. And I think that also because of his position, if I'm not mistaken, he's some kind of he's a judge, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he's a federal judge. So he probably doesn't want his brand, his name to be associated with this foolishness and all that kind of stuff. So that's probably another reason why he didn't show up on that show. Because for me, when a man is meeting, his woman's family and stuff like that, a key component is the presence of the father. The father is supposed to be the protector of the daughter. He's supposed to be there to make sure that the daughter is acting in her best interest, not picking some buffoon to be her husband and all that kind of stuff. He's supposed to be like the gatekeeper. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be there to inspect these guys to see what they're really about. Because, a man can see through all the game and all the BS, man. We can see what these guys are up to because as a man, the games that men play on women. So that's one thing that I was curious about. It's just ridiculous that you could fall in love with somebody after only having a couple of dates with them. And I think that the father would have been able to see through the BS. And I think that her mother actually saw through that guy, Brian, I think that's his name. She saw through his BS because he says all the right things. He's constantly saying the word love. I think he uses the word love too loosely. I doubt that he's in love with this woman that he just happened to meet on the show. I think it's all comes down to competitiveness. These guys want to win this show. They want to get their name out there in Hollywood and all that kind of stuff so that they can get attention. And if I'm not mistaken, that guy Brian has been on some reality shows from what someone was saying in the comment sections to one of my videos. So this is not his first time at the rodeo or whatever. It's not Rachel Lindsay's first time at this whole thing. You know, she was on the Bachelor show lusting after some white guy before. And she said she was in love with him and this and that. You know, according to the parents, they were saying, well, you expressed all these views toward that guy, Nick, before, and now here we go again. And that just brings me to a fundamental question I have. Why in the world is this educated black woman on some reality show looking for a man to marry her? I mean, why would she be in that situation? Why would she find herself in that situation? I mean, assuming that she's a quality woman, you know, a woman of substance, there will be no need to be on a show like this to get somebody to marry you. You know, when you're intelligent, you know, she looks okay. I mean, I'm not like, she's not all that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, she's okay. She's all right. You know, I know for some people, you know, they probably see her as fine and all that kind of stuff, but she's okay. You know what I'm saying? So she should be able to, the bottom line is she should be able to get a man. You know, she should be able to find a husband and stuff like that by now, you would think. So, I mean, the fact that she's on this show speaks to a level of desperation. And it's like, why are you desperate? Like, what are your flaws? That's what I'm saying. Like, what are your character flaws that we don't know about? Because you have to have some kind of flaws if you're in this situation where you are so desperate that you are coming on a television show to seek a husband. And I'm just wondering, like, what kind of man would really propose to a woman who's on a show with all these other guys, kissing all these other guys? You know, and she actually, in this episode I saw tonight, she actually had a sleepover with that guy, Eric, the one black guy that's on there. I mean, imagine if you're one of the other guys. You know, one of the other guys, and, you know, she slept with this guy or had a sleepover. You know, they don't tell us what happened. But I'm assuming that, you know, that guy Eric is smashing. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming that he wasn't just spending the night with her chilling, chit-chatting and stuff like that. But I could be wrong. But that's my assumption. Like, if he's the normal dude, you know, they got this chemistry popping off. I'm sure something popped off, man. And I'm just like, if you were one of those other guys, would you be proposing to this woman after she slept with this guy? I mean, that's one thing. And then how could you really take a woman seriously if they are, I mean, how could you take a woman seriously? How could you be all invested in her and all that kind of stuff, saying you love her and this and that, or you're falling in love with her when she's hugged up with all these other guys? I mean, it's not like some past relationship. It's like going on where she's kissing all these other guys, hugged up with all these other guys, very intimate with these other guys. I mean, I don't understand how anyone in that situation can propose to someone. And then another thing is like her attitude towards marriage. You would think that someone who grew up in a solid household, you would think that somebody in that kind of environment would understand what marriage is about, would understand what a proposal is about. And that guy, Peter, I think that's his name, he basically checked her. You know, he was basically saying, well, that's not what an engagement is about. It's not like a chance for you to find out if you want to marry somebody or some trial period or something like that. An engagement means that you have decided that this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. That's what an engagement is. It's not a trial period or anything like that. It's supposed to be, you've already reached a decision. You have decided that this is the one. So, you know, the fact that she doesn't view engagement like that, she views it as some kind of trial period or whatever to decide which way you're going to go, speaks to just her lack of seriousness, man, and it just speaks to a flaw, you know. It just speaks to like her misunderstanding of what a real engagement is about. And, you know, one thing that came out in this whole thing is like just how fake she is, you know what I'm saying? Like, she told this one guy that she's falling in love with him, and then the next thing you know, she's voting him off. You know, she's saying that has all these feelings for these guys. But yeah, she's with all these guys at the same time. I mean, how could you be all in love with somebody or falling in love with multiple people at the same time? It doesn't really add up, man. And also one thing that I found, this may have to be a two-part series, but I'll see. Hopefully, I have enough time. But one thing that I saw that was curious was her defending that guy, Brian, I think that's his name, defending him to her family because her family basically said he's full of crap. He says what they want to hear, he says what she wants to hear so that he can get what he wants to get. And that's to win the show and all that kind of stuff. He's talking about he loves this woman. He's only known her for a little bit of time. He's talking about he loves her family, and he just met them, and he's only been around them for like an hour. I mean, this guy is like a charmer. She kept saying he's a charmer, and that's just a fancy word for saying he's got game. He knows how to talk to these women and gas them up and stuff like that and make them feel good. So... I just find it odd, like, that she went out of her way to defend him. I didn't see her really defend other people like that, on the show. So that's curious. And, another thing that's curious is the fact that she would still keep that other guy on the show who's said that he's non-committal, who's expressed his opposition to her view of engagement. Maybe she'll kick him off on the next show. Who knows? And that reminds me of another thing. Like, one thing that was disappointing about this episode is, like, they string you along for 2 hours and she doesn't even vote one of these guys off, man, So it is what it is, man. So I'm going to keep checking out this show. One thing that stood out to me is, like, the fact that, this woman, her best friends are white women. She was talking about like her buddies, and she wants him to meet one of these guys to meet her buddies. And I think it was Brian that they met. So, it's like her inner circle is white, and then she has this, her sister is married to a white man. So all of that tells me that it's very possible and highly likely that she's going to ultimately pick a white guy. I don't know if that's the case. I can't say with certainty if that's the case. I'm not going to be Cleo the psychic telling y'all how this thing is going to shape out. But if I was to guess, I would say that she's probably going to be with a white guy. I think that, I would be surprised if she stays with Eric. And the reasons, again, go back to some basics. First of all, he doesn't come from a good family. He talked about how his family's all dysfunctional and his parents never lived together. And then he also talked about how he's never been in any kind of real relationship. The longest relationship he had was like for 8 months or whatever. But he is a kind of young guy. He's only like in his 20s or whatever. But that's something she expressed concern about. And then the fact that he's just a personal trainer, he's not some doctor, like I think that other guy's a doctor or some procedures, that guy Brian. So I think that that's part of the thing, that will come into play. The fact that her family was saying, like, they were concerned about the guy, the guy Eric or whatever. So for that reason, I don't think she's really going to go with him. But hey, you never know. I could be surprised, and, so just as a disclaimer, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out. But yeah, I just had to express my thoughts, man. So tell me what y'all think. Do you think she's going to end up with that guy Eric or with one of those white guys, and why? But yeah, man, I just had to express this, man. I'm just like, I don't understand how people are getting all head over heels for somebody that's kissing up on all these other guys. Somebody who's staying, spent the night with another guy and all that kind of stuff. So tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.